Hey VAD, welcome back. We're going to use Photoshop for the first time today. So here's Photoshop CC Creative Cloud, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to open. You can open here with this button on the welcome screen, or you can go to File, Open, and we're going to open up a photograph. Pick any photograph that you have saved to your computer. We're going to go into our Google file stream, and I do have some photos that I took with the webcam toy. So I'm going to go ahead and open one of those right now. Open up this one right here. Okay, so we have like 3 or 4 things that we want to make sure that we can do before we move forward. First of which is to be able to do some very basic adjustments to our photograph. So we're going to use image adjustment to use things like brightness, contrast, and levels to adjust the contrast and the darks and the lights of the photo. In levels, you can adjust the darks, the midtones, and the highlights all separately. So that's a nice customization that you can do really easily just by moving and toggling these switches. When you like it, hit OK. If you don't like it, hit cancel. I'm going to hit OK because I want to show you image adjustment again. But this time, this second grouping of options are all dealing with color. And hue saturation is one of the most helpful in my opinion. So we're going to change the hue. So this word hue is the same as saying color. So I'm going to change the color of my photo. So you can see it changing as I move and toggle the switch here. Then can also toggle the saturation. Less saturation means gray, and then more saturation, you can see how brightly colored I can get and how vivid I can get my photo. Lightness, darkness is light and dark. So you can adjust those things. If you like what happened, hit OK. If you don't, hit cancel. I'm going to hit OK. Furthermore, the second most important thing that I want you to be able to show in this is your ability to select groups of pixels. Remember we zoomed in and we talked about how all the images, especially JPEGs and other bitmap images, are made up of pixels. So when I zoom in, I can see individual pixels that make up the bigger image. These pixels are kind of the key to Photoshop's, one of Photoshop's secrets is that it can select groups, and this makes it kind of different than some of those free apps that are out there. So being able to make selections with this tool here, this is the rectangle marquee tool, which also houses within it the elliptical marquee tool if you hold the mouse button down on it. We also have lasso tools, the regular lasso tool, a polygonal, and a magnetic lasso tool that all work a little differently. Lastly, we have the quick selection tool or the magic wand tool. I'm going to go ahead and start with a rectangle, and I did that using the rectangle marquee tool. You can see that I now have a live selection. It's moving. It's ready for me to do something, and I'm going to go into adjustments again, and I'm just going to hit the black and white option and hit OK, and you can see that inside of the selection, the selected area, that's the only place where this will happen. When you have a selection on the screen, you can only affect what's inside of the selection that you have on the screen, right? So I was able to make just that area gray. If you want to get more custom, you can use things like the lasso tool. The lasso tool can make custom sort of organic shapes that you could then image adjustment and tell it to change colors or any number of effects. So I'm going to hit OK, and it only affects that area that's selected. Alright, so next step, the next biggest thing is I want you to be able to cut and paste areas of your photo, and it's going to end up making it go onto a new layer. So if I was to select something like the elliptical marquee tool and make a circular or an elliptic type shape like this, I could go ahead and I could go to edit. We talked quite a bit about what's inside of this option to edit. One of the options is to cut. So if I hit cut, or Control X is the key command for that, it is going to cut a hole in my photograph, and which is waiting for me to paste. It's waiting on the clipboard. If I hit edit, paste, it's then going to edit, paste that onto, and you'll notice in the layers palette that I now have a second layer. So 2 layers now equals, this is officially a Photoshop document. It's no longer a flat JPEG. It has 2 layers, and this layer can be moved independently from the rest of the photo. So I cut and pasted this onto a new layer. Now I can move it wherever I want. We discussed the ability to edit free transform, and that is the ability to adjust size. I hold down shift when I stretch from the corners to make sure that it stays in proportion. You can also find the corner of your image and rotate it as much as you want. So I can rotate, I can shrink, I can stretch. That is all possible with the edit free transform. When you're done free transforming, go ahead and hit enter to move on with your life. We got one more thing to do, and that's what we're going to do next. We're going to bring in a new image on top of this whole thing by going to File, Place Embedded. That would allow us to bring in a second image. I'm going to place this, and it brings it in on its own layer. So now I have 3 layers in this document. This layer that I just brought in, Photoshop tries to help you out and says when it brings something in, it's kind of already in that free transform mode, so you can shrink or stretch. It kind of just assumes that you're going to bring this in and it's not going to be the correct size. I'm going to zoom out and show you that you can make your image so big that it goes off of your picture plane, it goes off of the window. That's okay, it gets cropped, that's fine. Hit enter to move on with your life when you're done. Very last thing, what I wanted to show you was Photoshop's ability to make things see-through. Simply going to the top of your layers palette and using the opacity options, you can decrease the opacity, and there you have a more see-through image. You can also use these things called blending modes. Those are pretty cool. They all do different things. You can kind of experiment and see what all those different things are about. At any rate, once all of these things are evident in your picture, you can go ahead and File, Save As. And you're going to notice now that the type is going to be a Photoshop document, and that will preserve your layers so that you can open this again day after day and edit those layers as they are. I'm also going to save this a second time because I need a JPEG to go into my portfolio so I can get credit for doing all this. So here I'm going to save this one as first Photoshop. And it's going to be a Photoshop document. Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to File, Save As. And I'm going to save it the same name, same place. I'm just going to change the type down here to a JPEG. And I'm going to save. And I'm going to turn this up to maximum. Going to hit OK. And now I have 2 files that are exactly the same thing, but they're different file types. One is Photoshop, so it has the layers. One is flattened, and it can go into my Google Slides presentation so I can get credit in my portfolio. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helped. See ya.